Welcome to the Build My Online Store podcast, where we discuss everything and anything about running an online store. If you like the podcast, sign up for the mailing list to get news and updates at buildmyonlinestore.com. And now, here's your host, Terry Lynn.
Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Build My Online Store podcast. I'm your host, Terry, and this week we have a special guest, Jimi from Geekcook USA. And so I got the idea to interview this business from Michael Michelini from episode 3. If you remember, he does product sourcing in China. And so I asked him if you could recommend any e-commerce businesses in China that would be fun to hear about and to see how things work. So he passed me along to Geekcook, and Jimi runs their US operations while they have a team of designers and manufacturers based in China. So tune in. This is a very interesting story. It's different from your usual store that's based in the US, and hope you get a lot of value out of this. Alright, so today I'm joined by Jimi over at Geekcook USA in New York to talk about their e-commerce business in China and the US. What's up, Jimi?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, not bad. Yourself?
Good. It's going well, thank you.
So why don't you start from the top then? What's the business and the story behind it?
Well, the business started in 2009, and David, that's the head designer, he just had a couple of ideas here and there, and he threw it together. Put up a site, and he noticed people were buying it. They started just designing products, and people were buying it, and it just became a business that way. Then put it on Aliexpress so they can get other Chinese buyers. They started using the other site as well. I think it's Taibo. I'm not too sure how to pronounce it, but it's another e-commerce site for mostly Chinese manufacturers. And they put it on there, and I guess they started making sales, and it started working.
I see. And so AliExpress and Taibo are kind of like the Shopify evolution for the outside world. Is that correct?
Shopify evolution is more of like a B2C thing. They're using AliExpress and Taibo to get other Chinese businesses to sell their products for like a wholesale thing.
Oh, so is it sort of more like Amazon?
Not okay. Like I'm sure you've heard of DH Gate.
Yes.
So it's like a DH Gate to them. They put it on there. People go there and buy in wholesale prices, and they sell it on their online store. They sell in their,
I see. So it's more like a portal to. Okay, I got you.
Exactly. It's a portal for other buyers, other Chinese buyers or vendors to find products and buy.
I see. And so, what are your main product lines you guys sell?
Well, our main product line is actually the iPhone cases. We have a variety of iPhone cases made of different type of wood. We have bamboo, maple wood, walnut. Yeah, and that's it.
I see. And I see a lot of other stuff. Like there's some like AK-47 wall hangers. Or so who comes up with the idea for that?
The designers, they come up with the idea. This is especially what drew me to Geekcook, the fact that they are very creative and they can make things that relate to technology and pop culture, So people get invested in it. I know this. I watched a movie with this, and like aside from the cases, our bestseller is also the DIY at cable organizer. That's so crazy. That has received the most press. It's been on discoverychannel.com, msnbc.com, Gizmodo. Basically what it is it's a cable organizer shaped as the at Walker in Star Wars. It's part of pop culture. People remember that. People remember, I remember it's in Star Wars, so they like it and they buy it. So that's been, aside from the cases, that's been our bestseller. And they just come up with these crazy ideas. They look at something, and they relate it to something that's happened in the past or some kind of pop culture, and they make it, and people fall in love with it that way.
Yeah, and I see there's a light that has like I guess it's propped up like one of those machines in the Matrix, and it has a light. It looks really cool.
Oh, okay, the intruder lamp?
Yeah, the intruder lamp, yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot of lamps as well. Aside from accessories, we do a lot of home furniture as well, stuff you can take home that makes your house look a bit different, a bit more quirky. They're very, very functional stuff, but stuff that looks good as well.
And so, if I'm understanding this right, the designer makes their own product, and then they put it on Geekcook where other buyers can procure it. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, the designers, we make the products. We come up with the ideas, and they put it in their site for consumers to buy and for other, vendors to buy as well.
I see. And so how does your business model work out? Like, does your revenue come from like a commission, or where does it come from?
You mean Geekcook US or Geekcook as a whole?
Well, I guess, okay, let me back up a little bit then. So how is Geekcook US different from the China one?
Okay, so Geekcook US, I'm in charge of the whole Geekcook US. Well, Geekcook US is different as to basically we're just based in the US. I go through products that we make. Whenever there's something new, I go through it, and I look at stuff that will work here in the US market. Things that people fall in love with here, and we sell that on the US arm of Geekcook. You don't sell everything because I think some things won't sell here, So I go through stuff that will sell here, and we just put that on our US store. And the way we work, it's essentially the same way as Geekcook, but we're just US. We just sell to US consumers. We also do a lot of business to business as well. So I sell to big companies like Uncommon Goods, Think Geek, Urban Outfitters, bigger companies. We try to sell to them. That's the business model.
What do you look for when you're trying to port a product into the US from China?
Well, first of all, I look for the design. Is there going to be an emotional connection here? People, in the US going to look at this and like, wow, I remember this. Like I said, the at Walker, like everyone's connected to it because there's a lot of Star Wars fanatics here in the US. So I look for stuff like that. What's going to connect them emotionally to this product? So for example, we just created a new product called the classic 80s boombox bag. And that was pretty easy to determine that it sell here in the US. One, because, it was in the 80s. People carried boomboxes that looked like the bag in the 80s. And also, I can't remember, I don't know if you've seen a Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing. There was a character in there that carried a boombox around called Radio Raheem. Like, wow, people are going to relate to this. So that was easy to port. So one, I look for if there's going to be an emotional connection to the US buyers. Are they going to like it? Are they going to relate to it? And two is the design itself. The design is always well done. I look for the simplicity of right from the get-go, it's well designed. It's designed top class. Everything looks good. But I look to see how simple it is because I think Americans are lazy too, Putting things together might be a bit too hard because we have a lot of DIY products and sometimes it takes forever. So I look at how it's going to be put together and I make my decision based upon those two things.
And are there products that sell well in both markets that you've seen?
Oh, yeah. They definitely. The app sells well. The cases sell well. There's a lot of iPhones in the US as well as in China as well. The wall hooks sell well. The AK-47 and the M16 wall hooks sell well.
Yeah. I would totally buy one of these.
We don't actually sell all here in the US because I feel they take too long to put together and some people don't even know what exactly it is. Like the Intruder is actually based off a character, a machine in War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise.
Oh, wow. That came out a long time ago, huh?
Yeah, exactly. People can relate to it, so we don't carry that here. I think that's about it.
So it's interesting that you guys manufacture everything in China, but then you split it into two markets to sell.
That's very true. Yeah, we manufacture everything in China. And it's crazy too. We share the markets for two different things. It's because as much as possible, try to pick things that work here in the US. Because I already have so much going against me, being the fact that it's made in China, and despite the fact that I design wonderfully, and design is a big industry taking off in the US, being in China, it's already something stacked against us. So I try to pick things that I know will work perfectly right from the get-go.
So you can use a design to overcome the stigma of being made in China.
For example, yesterday, David designed two new clocks, and I couldn't even actually take both of them. The first one was because he had a lot of Chinese characters, which I think is cool, Yeah, but the second one was awesome. It was a Space Invaders clock. Instead of the numbers, it has Space Invaders, and I'm sure I remember Space Invaders from the 90s. So I was excited about that.
Yeah, I see. So does David do most of the design stuff?
Designer. He has a couple guys he works with, but he's the head designer. They all come up with the concepts together and they execute.
So which side of the business would you say accounts for most of your revenue? Like is the China business bigger or is the US one?
To be honest, I really don't know. I know the US business just started a year ago and the Chinese business has been around since 2009. I just started the US one a year ago, but we've been making massive strides, being with massive companies, partnering with massive big e-commerce company here in the US. And not even just e-commerce companies in general. Like I said, Urban Outfitters, working with them and doing a whole lot of B2B, and that's very, very good. The only thing we're working on and we're not strong at yet is the B2C. So working on that, but the wholesale is very, very good. On the China end, retail is very good as well, but we're not at that stage in the US yet.
I see. And so for your products that are very design-based, how do you approach the B2B wholesalers?
My first buyer I actually spoke to and made a sale with was actually a company actually based here, obviously based in the US. And I just went to the company's directory and I found the email for the buyer. And I said, hey, listen, we have some of this stuff we just made that I think fits perfectly with your brand. I'd love to send you a sample. Sure enough, the next day they replied. I sent them a sample, and a couple of days down the road, they sent us a PO. So I just reach out to different buyers as often as I can and try to pitch them on our products. Some people say no, some people say yeah. It's just basically how it works.
Yeah, and one of my previous guests said B2B is a lot easier to identify the customer, whereas B2C, you have to sell each person each time. And have you found that to be a lot easier in your case?
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with him. B2B is a lot more easy. And first of all, you don't really have to identify the end user. I think they already have it built. It's like that's a step to take. You just have to give it to this middleman and his crew and send it to all the end user. And you, B2C, you have to build your own community, your own consumers. And it's a bit hard because you're just starting off, like a week you sell a couple of things and you think you have, okay, people like this. So next week, the one comes back. So it takes a lot of analytics. You have to go back, do diligence, and see exactly what's selling, why it's not selling, and is it the price? There's a lot of things to figure out to get the sweet spot. Like you could get like returning consumer.
Yeah, and you have to run each person through their sales funnel each time wherever they're at. Yeah, okay, and so for the B2B sales funnel, are the most B2B companies where they're buyers, procurement guys, are they pretty much set up the same way?
Yeah, they're pretty much set up the same way from what I've encountered. They have this, I guess, budget they're supposed to go through for the year. A lot of people are pitching them on products daily. Some people don't even pitch them. Some people just even send them their samples without talking to them or anything, which I try to avoid. And I'll say the reason why we've had success is just because of the quality of the products. They are that good, And the thing is, also you have to pick the specific consumer, even on the B2B end. You have to pick a consumer that they like this kind of design-oriented product. So, for example, I'm not going to go sell a Geekcook product on a website like overstock.com,
Okay, and it's very relationship-driven too.
Oh, yeah. It's very, yeah. I would like to actually go out and network with as many as possible these buyers in person as much as possible. But to be honest, I don't even see them, in public out there. I go to a lot of startup events here in the New York, New Jersey, tri-state area as well, and it's mostly technical people I meet. Like web developers, web designers. You don't get to meet people in like the fashion or the buying industry, or maybe I'm going to the wrong event. But it is relationship based. One thing I know they like is exclusivity. I say, hey man, you're going to be the first one to have this on your site. So let me know, let's do something. So it's really, really relationship based. You're right.
I see. And so how about the pricing when you're negotiating B2B? Do you have any, what's your experience there?
What I suggest is you just have to think of the bottom line. You have to put everything into consideration, how much it's going to be to get the factory cost, shipping, logistics, warehousing, storage. Make sure all of that is factored in before say yes to a price you're not comfortable with. And I made that mistake in the past when I first started doing this. I wanted to have our products on this site so bad. I didn't even think. I just said yes to whatever price they said, and it was definitely a big mistake. You have to make sure the bottom line, make sure you're going to be making money at the end of the day, because everything that can go wrong usually goes wrong, especially when you're doing with logistics coming from China. Got stopped by customs, and they went through. They did all the inspections they wanted, and the funny thing is they did these inspections and they charge you for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had an extra inspection. They weren't satisfied, so they actually did a manual inspection as well and went into the goods. And at the end, they're holding the products back, because with these companies, you have an expected delivery date. They're holding the products back, and each day it's late. They're taking away like 5%, or depending on what their terms and conditions say, taking away 5% from the value of the PO, and then they now charge you for the inspection. So there's a lot considered. You just have to make sure you go back, do the math and make sure everything is, well accounted for in the end. So just always leave yourself enough cushion, aside from just your profit, always leave enough more cushion just in case anything happens.
And it's not a good strategy to lose money and try to make it up by volume.
Oh, definitely not. It always comes back to bite you in the end, especially when you're dealing with large amount of volumes, because like I said, something always happens when it comes to dealing with quantity.
Yeah, and I'm guessing because the B2B customers know you're making them in China, I assume they would give you a lot of pricing pressure too, right?
Oh, yeah. And that's one thing I also, right from the get-go, I tell them I'm made in China. So there's no confusion in the end. Sometimes these companies, they order us in such large quantities that I don't even have that stocked in our US warehouse. So I'm always open with them. Hey, listen, this is going to come from our Chinese warehouse because I don't have the amount you want here in the US. So I'm always open with them. I tell them it's coming from China. They react to it the way they're going to react to it. Some people don't mind. Some people, like you said, they change the price and it's being made in China, so it has to be extremely cheap. But not everything in China is made extremely cheap. I think I'm going to get David or someone to send assistant to send you some samples as well, so you can even see the quality of the goods. They're made very well. I'll say maybe 70% of the products are made handmade, so that takes time as well and increases the quality. We get a lot of rap. Oh, it's being made in China, it must be cheap, but it actually isn't.
Yeah, and because it's uniquely designed too. It's not just a mass-produced item also, right?
We use the best raw materials. For example, our maple wood cases, we use North American maple wood. So we get the wood here in the US and we make it in China. So it's stuff like that increases to the quality of the product.
All right, cool. And so what's the shipping process like from China? Like how long does it take and what's the process?
Oh, it's a massive headache. So we do it two ways. Most times we have stuff stocked here in the US, either for vendors or for consumers, so they could just order it and we ship right here from the US, which is obviously easy. We use UPS and sometimes we use USPS. But sometimes they order such big quantities that it's not even in our US, that if we actually use what we have in the US, it'll dry us up for the next month or 2 months or so. And sometimes we just don't even have that quantity. So what we do is we do two things. It depends on the size of the product. So for example, if it's like 100 cases, we can just put that in 2 boxes. Fit perfectly in 2 boxes, 50 each, and we'll just DHL it to me here. If it's not that heavy, you can use DHL. It's still a bit costly, but definitely better to have it faster than actually using freight, which is our other option when it gets really, really heavy, and which is what we've been doing most of the time. And I try to do freight quarterly because we fill up one container every quarter and we send it down, and that's where the big headache comes in. They pack it there at the Chinese warehouse. They make sure everything is tagged properly. It usually fits 1 container, and that's a lot. That's a lot of product in 1 container. It'll take literally, I think, a month to get here. And since we're coming from China, we always get subjected to a custom inspection. I mean, it's usually something they do at random. For some reason, we always get picked. So we get like another 2 weeks. When we get to the US, sit at the docks, just going through the product. I have a warehouse set up where it's automatically taken from the port to a warehouse. And the warehouse is where it stays until I go clean it or until I go pick it up with a truck or something.
Right, so you're talking about how your shipping takes like a month, right? So I guess if you order quarterly, you need to forecast your sales quite well, right?
Oh yeah, it has to be literally pinpoint, and most times the first 2, it's usually an order that a big company has made. And obviously I include some things there just for the warehouse in the US here. And usually the final one is usually around the Christmas time, around the holidays. We do a lot of B2C for that as well. So try to, forecast and predict when it's going to get here. Obviously, we give ourselves enough time and so we can have enough products during the holiday season.
When a customer orders from B2B, do they make you hold the inventory cost, or do they pay you like right away as they get the product?
Okay, the way things are done here in the US, which was another obstacle we had to deal with, the Chinese Geekcook and the USA Geekcook. I guess what they do in China is that as soon as they want something, they pay for it right up there, right up front. What we do here in the US is, especially we've been working with a lot of big e-commerce companies. They do, we use POs. First, they were very uncomfortable with that. We're just going to send goods, and not get any money. What if they just take our money? I'm like, no, don't worry. You're not going to do that. These are, established e-commerce companies. I mean, this PO is literally, I try to explain to them, this PO is literally a contract, stating they're going to pay us as soon as we deliver so amount. They had to get used to the idea of getting money after. And we do get a bunch of, companies or web shops as well that if they're making an order and it's nothing crazy, nothing big, they'll pay up front. But with the big orders, we use PO. I'm sure you know what it is. As soon as we deliver the product, they usually pay us within 15 to 30 days or whatever it states in the PO.
I see. And so it does stretch your cash flow cycle a little bit.
Oh, it definitely does. It definitely does. Especially since we're a small company, I really wish we could have all the cash right up front, because it's going to let us do more things. Sometimes it gets really uncomfortable, especially when we make a really big order and we have to wait like a couple of weeks to get the payment to do the next thing with it,
Oh, wow. So you have to wait for it to go all the way to the US, past customs to your warehouse, and then to your customer. And then like 15, 30, or 60 days. Oh, wow.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's a big delay with the cash flow when orders are made, but it's just something we're learning to get used to and work with. I try to make Geekcook USA as smooth and easy as possible. Like I said, most of the time I'm not even involved in the product design department, which, pretty cool. I mean, they come out with good products often. Everything that they've come out with I like. I'm more than welcome to design as well with them, which have thrown some ideas here and there, and hopefully I get to see it into fruition sometime soon. So what I was trying to do, I just try to make it as easy as possible, to run a business and not have to put too much into it, That's why I initially started with focusing on B2B a year ago. And now that we're getting the volume that we want to get from B2B, I want to start focusing on the consumer aspect as well, which is very hard right now.
Once the consumer aspect is up, it'll help your cash flow too, because you basically get it right away as soon as they pay for it.
Exactly. You get it right away. You get it for full price as well,
Yeah, it'll make you sleep easier at night, I bet.
Yeah, especially since it's just literally been a year. B2C it's not that bad, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough to sustain a business. That's the thing. We do get orders once in a while. We get orders here and there, but it's not enough to sustain a business. We're literally running the whole thing off these other vendors and all these big e-commerce companies. So it can be a lot better.
Yeah, that's funny. And do you find it funny that Chinese are making, unique boutique cool products being sold in the US?
I think it's awesome, I mean, aside from just even Chinese companies, most of the American companies that, design pretty cool stuff, most of them are made in China as well, They make a lot of good stuff on there. And it's unfortunate that people haven't seen the potential that's coming from China.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are still stuck with the mentality that they make cheap products and they're just like a factory.
Yeah, we've made cases for shoes, companies like Tom Shoes, and they loved it from the get-go. I mean, it never came into being a product yet. We've worked with ideas with them, we've thrown concepts at them, and they loved it. They were like, wow, this, it's big. I mean, the quality is unbelievable, and it's a shame that people have that, backwards mentality still. Even these big companies that have these big names, they make things in China as well. People just refuse to believe because of the name,
Yeah, and so if I look at it from a different angle, you have an advantage because your design team is based in China. They speak Chinese. They know the market well. Whereas if you're a foreign company, you have to actually go find someone like Michael to do all your QC design. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Exactly. Well, that's exactly what I love what I'm doing with Geekcook. It's exactly what, like I said, I want to do something without putting too much effort and without putting too much money. And at this point, I haven't, like I said, I'm rarely involved in the design process. I can be if I want to. That's why I love it a lot. I just get to sell these stuff, and I'm as passionate as they are. I say like, whoa, you made that? That's pretty cool. And it just fuels me to get people to buy it.
Yeah, that's really cool because they won't have to worry. They're already surprised by the quality of your products made in China, so they don't need to worry about any of that.
Yeah, exactly. On the Chinese end, they're surprised as well that it's actually selling in the US. When I got our first big order, they were like shocked. At first they were like a bit nervous about it because, like I said, it was a PO. And the way our relationship with Geekcook is more of another company entirely. So luckily, I have the permission to use their name, so it makes it a lot easier selling product. But I'm more of a different company entirely. I'm not part of their organization. That's the way they're comfortable with. So if I get an order of a couple of things for here and there, I have to pay for it from our company funds. But when we got this big order, now I said, listen, guys, we got this massive order. I bought them the PO. I'm like, there's no way I'm putting my own cash out for this. But if you want to lose this order, we'll both lose it. But I think we have to do this. They were a bit nervous at first because they've never done anything like that. I'm sure you're more than you know the Chinese culture, especially since they haven't even met these people they're selling to. You know, they haven't even met me as well, and now they're supposed to send some products, you know, to the US without no cash.
Yeah, no cash.
So they were very, very uncomfortable with it. But luckily, I had a track record with them. You know, I've been selling stuff consistently, you know, and they went ahead. Luckily, they took it, and they were so excited. Like, they don't believe how much volume they're selling in the US right now.
Oh, that's so interesting that it's it's a Chinese product selling in the US. It blows my mind. And so who's the typical customer in the US? Do you have any idea? Like, who buys from your customers in terms of the end market?
Okay, first of all, there's all the fanatics, you know, that like all this Star Wars stuff that they make. You know, they have all that. They have all the fans from Star Wars and all the geeks that love all these DIY products. And aside from that, they have the iPhone market, people who just want to be different and want to be cool and tired of carrying a plastic case or a rubber case. Like, wow, this case is made out of wood. So that audience, they have a lot of people, a lot of trendy, you know, up-and-coming teenagers. They love all that stuff. And the DIY projects, a lot of moms love that, you know, stay-at-home moms who can just, you know, sit down for like an hour or so and make something. It's literally making something from scratch with all the DIY products we make. So our customer base is big. You know, most of this stuff are like cool gift ideas that, you know, people buy their dads, you know, dads buy their kids. So there's a lot of cool stuff here that a lot of people like. The lamps people buy for their offices, and it's just a, you know, variety of people that are attracted, that gravitate to the Geekcook products.
And so when you're dealing with the Chinese business culture, did you try a lot of convincing, or do you say cash speaks a lot more than convincing?
Oh, cash. Well, that's one thing I've learned, especially with Michael, and because Michael was obviously the one who got me into Geekcook. He taught me a lot about their business culture. They do like to meet in person, but eventually we just started building trust. What I figured out myself was like, you know what? Just give them cash order. Pay from the get-go, right, with everything. I just build a level of trust with them, and that's what I started doing. I started doing orders, you know, I'll send them money right from the get-go, get another order, send them money, and built up a level of trust, and that was able to take us to the point where we're at right now.
So if there were 3 things you would recommend, tips about doing business in China, one would be cash. And what would you say number 2 or 3 would be?
Even if I haven't done this yet, you have to meet the person you're doing business with in China. But luckily I met Mike, you know, so Mike was my liaison in China, and David and the Geekcook team really trusted Mike. That way they trusted me as well. So you need a lot of cash, meet the person you're going to work with in China and the products. First of all, examine it, see if you're going to like it, see if you're going to sell. If you like it yourself, it should be easy for you to sell.
Yeah. And so you've never met David, your business partner, before yet, right?
Right. I've never met him, no. Yeah, and which is very, very rare. You're doing business with someone in China. They really like to meet you, shake your hand, talk to you, and just, you know, see how you interact in person with them. I've never met David. We've shared several emails back and forth, but I've never met him in person. We've talked on the phone. Never met him.
So Michael was super instrumental because they're basically putting their faith in you through him.
Michael was the one who made it happen. Exactly. Yeah, and I can even remember several times in several emails, David asking Michael to vouch for me for certain things. I'm like, yep. And Michael was more than happy to, you know, he was like, hey, I met Jimmy, you know, I know him, I trust him, he's going to do what he says, he can move these products. So David has actually said that, you know, literally, I need Michael to vouch for you, you know, and he's done that several times.
Especially a foreigner they've never met before through another foreigner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because if you could speak Chinese, if you were like kind of like, exactly, you know, me, ABC, it would be so much different, right?
Exactly. I mean, before David got like an assistant who I speak with now, May, all David used to do to understand, to speak with me was literally use Google Translate. Yeah, my emails, he'll just put in Google Translate and read it, and he'll reply to me. That's literally how we communicated until he got this English-speaking assistant who's been very helpful as well.
Yeah, and I guess it's a big leap of faith on your side, too, to actually trust that this guy will trust you to ship product to you, right?
Yeah, well, it was difficult. We've had several times when, you know, in the middle of the night, I'm sending Michael this email, and they're sending Michael email too as well. Michael, Jimmy, blah, 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 Jimmy, Michael. There's been several times when we've both gone to seeking Michael's solution for, I think problems we've encountered in the past. And it was obvious things that had to do with shipping products to me with no money up front. And at some point I was getting frustrated because they kept on saying they want to grow in the US. And I'm telling them, this is the way to grow in the US. No one is going to do it this way. I understand this is the way you do it here, but no one's going to do it this way in the US. Trust me. And I kept on hearing these complaints that they want to grow, they're not growing in the US. But I'm trying to make you grow in the US. You have to do it this way. At the end, we all run into Michael, and that's the point. I just decided, you know what? I'll just do whatever they want me to do at this point. If they want cash up front, I'll give them cash up front for now, and I build faith from that.
Awesome. And it seems like once you guys got over the trust issue, everything goes really well because, like I said, your design is all in China, your team is like the same team. There's like... Yeah,
exactly. As soon as we got over those issues with trust and everything just started working. We just started working a lot more seamlessly. David got this assistant that I could just be working with, 24/7. Whenever I needed her, she was always there. I go through her. Technically, Geekcook US and Geekcook China are two separate companies. Technically, on the books they are. Although I do have the permission to use their name, which is a lot easier. Then I didn't want to start my own company from scratch just yet. I was more than happy with the Geek brand. I wanted to build a brand here in the US. But as soon as we got through the issues, I was even forwarding them the POs, hey, look, here's the PO. I think transparency is so important. So I think that's what they even trusted me on my side when they saw that I was willing to share all this information with them. So I'll get POs and I'll just forward it straight to them. Hey, look, here's another PO. I'll forward it. They saw all the information. So we're just so transparent and everyone was just comfortable that way.
Awesome. So if you want to buy Geekcook products, where can we find them in the US?
In the US, you just go to the abbreviation, en.geekcook.net. And of course, in China, you can just go to geekcook.net.
All right, man. Well, Jimmy, thanks so much. I think I don't think I have anything else. It's been very fun.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hey, have a good day.
To get more information about running an online store, visit our website at buildmyonlinestore.com. There, you'll find articles, case studies, and tools to help you run a successful online store. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Build My Online Store podcast.